Welcome back to Turf Talk, favorite topic edition. Vance, been at it for a few weeks now, but with every passing week of Breeders Cup prep, certainly more and more Breeders Cup implications, and then beyond that, Clips Awards, and what seemed like a foregone conclusion with Tepin, suddenly to me a lot murkier, with Lady Eli winning her first Grade 1 of the year, Miss Temple City beating females again. I think that award is up for grabs.
It's going to be up for grabs if Lady Eli wins the filly and mare turf and Tepin somehow loses the mile. Personally, I would still kind of maybe lean towards Tepin in that particular instance, with the two open race victories in the Woodbine Mile and the Queen Anne at Royal Ascot. But it's going to be very contentious if that particular scenario plays itself out.
Yeah, certainly the storyline of Lady Eli's return, I think, will loom large over that award, and I think she will win. She would do it without my vote, which is fine. But to me, with given her New York base and the buzz before her comeback race and then after she won the Flower Bowl, if Tepin does not win and Lady Eli does, I don't think there's any chance for Tepin.
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, Tepin has built up such a strong resume so far this year. Even despite her loss last weekend at Keeneland, where her connections obviously weren't looking for a really hard race for her in her final Breeders' Cup prep. It's been her only loss so far, and I agree with you. Lady Eli does have that East Coast sentiment, but sometimes that electorate hasn't shown its power and influence as much in recent years as it has in the past. So I'm going to obviously wait and see how things play out at Santa Anita next month. And addressing the Miss Temple City for just a moment, she does have those two open race victories at Keeneland this year against males, both very surprising results in my opinion. However, she still hasn't beaten fillies and mares yet this year in restricted company, and I personally don't see her pulling off that same magic in the Breeders' Cup Mile if she runs in that race at Santa Anita. She seems like to be a horse for the course for Keeneland. I hope I wasn't slamming her too much there, but I see that
those are factors.
Yeah, I just see this race being a Tepin versus Lady Eli in the end.
Yeah, and for me, and I know I'm pretty much alone in this, but found factors for me, obviously forgetting what she did last year, that doesn't count for these purposes, but to me, if Tepin doesn't win and the ARC winner comes over here and beats males going a mile and a half, I would greatly favor that over certainly what Lady Eli did, and then you can make the argument, well, Tepin's done enough throughout the season, and if Tepin wins, we agree it's hers no matter what else happens. If Miss Temple City wins, Found would be my only alternative. I would feel like she has 3 Grade 1 wins over male, including finally over Tepin. And then to me, Lady Eli has no path. Even if she wins and Tepin loses, I'm going to favor Tepin, as you said you probably would as well. But I very often disagree with the majority, and I feel like Lady Eli would win under that scenario.
Yeah, going back to Found, going back through Eclipse history, it seems like American voters will go overseas to a horse that comes over and wins a Breeders' Cup race, for example, when there really is no other logical alternative among the domestic ranks. And we clearly don't. That situation clearly doesn't exist this year when we have Tepin, when we have Lady Eli, and to a lesser extent Miss Temple City. So even if Found comes over and repeats in the Breeders' Cup turf again, it's just going to be, I think, a hard path for her to win the award.
I agree. I mean, it's a path I would take, but agree that others unlikely to do the same. Also this weekend saw some 2-year-olds in action, and to me, definitely one of the more contentious divisions, which almost always comes down to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile anyway, but this year certainly the table set. We have Klimt and, is it Gormley? Gormley, thank you. On the West Coast, Classic Empire, who won the Breeders' Futurity, and then Practical Joke, certainly, and Syndergaard perhaps as well, out of the Champagne. Classic, this is what Breeders' Cup's all about, East, Midwest, West. Meeting this year it's in the West, which I'm sure will factor in how some people handicap the race. But to me, an exciting division already.
Yeah, it is, and this is going to be a very wide open Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I don't think any of them stand out particularly well on just speed ratings alone so far, and like you said, it's going to be a very contentious division so far. We're not going to have a clear-cut favorite in that race, and so it should be a very exciting championship decider.
Yeah, and on Odds Checker, which is a good site to look at the European and international books who are already accepting wagers, the Juvenile, one of the more open races, the favorite around 9-2, a few others at up to 6-1. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, Songbird, California Chrome, and Found are among the more heavily bet favorites. Songbird odds on with some books, Chrome and Found in the even money 6-5 range. Of those three, who do you think is the most likely loser?
The most likely loser?
Yes.
Among Found, Songbird, and California Chrome?
Yeah.
Well, I think for now Found is still a bit of a question mark because she's actually going to be entered in the, not the Queen Elizabeth, but the Champion Stakes at Ascot on Saturday over 1.25 miles. So she'll be squeezing in, if she comes back over to the Breeders' Cup for that race. That'll be like her third start within the span of 5 weeks. So it could potentially squeezing the lemon dry a little bit with Found. But and then I think of the other two, California Chrome and Songbird, I think Chrome has definitely got the better shot of winning his race. I still think a filly like Stellar Wind is going to pose some big problems to Songbird.
Yeah, I agree. I was actually surprised to see Songbird the shortest of that trio and really of any Breeders' Cup race, not because of her talent, which obviously I think is incredible, but to me it's the toughest race. Stellar Wind, Beholder, the East Coast Grade 1 winners. It's going to be a true test for her stepping up against Older for the first time. So for me, I pick her only because, you know, from a who's most likely to lose, I just feel like we know what Chrome can do. He's already done it against most of these except Arrogate, and Found, in addition to the prep schedule, you know, Flintshire is going to be no slouch on firm going, other Europeans, etc. But to me, and I said this to some people I ran into the other day, you know, I'm prone to hyperbole, I admit it, but sometimes I roll my eyes too when people try to build up these events into something they're not. But I do think this is one of the best Breeders' Cups we've seen in a while.
Yeah, and even going back to California at Santa Anita, sometimes that definitely favors West Coast-based horses. But in this Breeders' Cup, I feel like East Coast-based horses, Midwest horses, also have a very legitimate chance of upsetting the locals out there in various races. So I agree with you. This is going to be a really good Breeders' Cup.
Yep, well, I'm looking forward to it. It's got about 3 weeks to go. The QE2 is this weekend. James and I discussed that on Point at Keeneland, and you and I, I'm sure, will be rapping about the other Breeders' Cup races as we get closer to the big event.
Yep, good. And Champions Day weekend at Ascot on Saturday, and the Canadian International races on Sunday. Should be fantastic turf racing around the world, too.
Yep, great point. We'll wrap it up next week. Join us then.